The shuttle touched down on the dusty red ground of Zarnak 3, a faraway alien planet known for its wild terrain and harsh climate. The wind howled across the outpost, lifting clouds of orange sand. As the ramp lowered, a single man stepped out. His name was Jack Rivers, a human mechanic from Earth. He wore a dusty brown coat, tool belt, and a backpack filled with spare parts. He wasn't here for glory. He was sent by the Galactic Peace Division to fix old water systems in this remote alien colony. No one clapped or welcomed him. In fact, no one even looked happy to see him. Aliens of different colors and shapes walked past him without a word. Their glowing eyes watched him from shadows. Some muttered in their language. Others simply turned their backs. Jack had been warned. This colony didn't like humans. A tall, three-eyed officer named Commander Vexer finally stepped forward. You'll stay in the lower quarters, not enter sacred zones. Fix what you were told, nothing more. It nodded, understood. He was handed a small map, and without another word, Vexer walked away. Jack sighed and looked around. This place felt more like a prison than a colony. As he walked to his quarters, something strange caught his eye. A group of aliens stepped aside, clearing the path for someone or something. A giant beast stomped down the street. Nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark green fur with glowing red eyes, sharp tusks jutted from its jaw, and its claws dragged lines in the stone floor. It was terrifying, but what stood beside it was even more striking. A tall alien girl with violet skin and long black hair tied in warrior braids. She wore battle armor, sharp metal bracelets, and her golden eyes burned with strength. Her name was Vrel, the daughter of the colony's old warlord, and the beast beside her was Droger, personal protector. Every alien moved aside when they saw her, except Jack. She stopped right in front of him, her golden eyes locked on his face. Jack stood still. His heart beat faster, but he didn't show fear. Vrel narrowed her eyes. "You're the human mechanic," she said, her voice low but dangerous. Jack nodded slowly. "That's right." She looked him up and down like she was studying a bug. Then she turned to Droger and said something in her alien tongue. The beast growled low, and then took a step closer to Jack. Jack didn't move, just raised a brow. "You going to sick your pet on me, or just stare all day?" That made a few nearby aliens gasp. No one talked to Vrel like that. Vrel didn't smile, but something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or amusement. "Touch my pet," she warned, "and I will break your bones." Slowly. She walked past him, Droger following like a shadow. Jack exhaled. "Great start, Jack," he muttered to himself. "Real smooth." Later that evening, Jack found himself inside the outpost's machinery bay. The water recycling unit was leaking badly. Steam hissed. Pipes groaned. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. After 2 hours of crawling through grime and replacing filters, he heard a low sound behind him. G-R-R-R-R-R-R-R ... Jack froze. He slowly turned and came face to face with Droger. The beast was soaked in thick brown mud and breathing heavily. Jack stared. The thing looked like it had just crawled out of a swamp. Jack blinked. "What the hell happened to you?" Droger didn't attack. Just sat down with a heavy thud and kept staring at him. Jack scratched his head. "Well, you're dirty and you're stinking up my work area." He looked around, saw a large bucket, an old hose, and some industrial soap. A dangerous idea. Hit him, you know what? Screw it. He filled the bucket, added soap, and turned on the hose. Dr. Ogre tilted its head. Jack smiled. "Time for a bath, big guy." He sprayed water on the beast. Mud flew everywhere. Droger flinched at first, but then let out a strange noise. Per-dash rumble. Jack froze. "You like that?" "No." Droger lay down and let Jack scrub its side. "A good, terrifying alien murder dog?" "You are." Didn't know this was a sacred creature, considered untouchable by all. And he didn't know Vrel was just around the corner, watching. Her eyes widened in horror. Her hand shook in rage. She had warned him. But the fool had just bathed her bonded beast like a common pet. Her jaw clenched. She stepped forward, her voice cold as ice. "What have you done?" Droger was no normal beast to the people of Zarnak 3. He was a sacred creature, bred from a bloodline older than most species in the galaxy. His fur carried war scent. His roar was used in rituals. Only one being was allowed to touch him, Vrel, his bonded keeper. So when she stepped into the maintenance bay and saw a human humming while scrubbing her beast with foam and bubbles, something inside her snapped. Her hand went straight to her side blade, but she stopped. Not because of mercy, but because Droger was smiling. If such a beast could smile, his tail thumped gently on the floor. His tongue lolled out. He let the water splash over him like he was a pet enjoying a spa day. Unacceptable, unholy, unforgivable. Jack, still unaware, held up a soft bristle brush. "All right, big guy, now roll over, Wu." He finally noticed the silence behind him, turning. Slowly, he saw Vrel, standing there, expression frozen between rage and shock. She didn't speak for a full 5 seconds. Jack gave a sheepish smile. "Oh, hey, He was dirty. You washed?" Droger, her voice was low. Too low, Jack blinked. "Yeah, why? Was that wrong?" "Wrong," she repeated, stepping closer. "He is not a pet. He is sacred. His body is marked with warrior blessings. You washed off ancestral ink, you fool." Jack took a step back. Droger whimpered. "I didn't know. Swear he looked like he needed it." Vrel clenched her jaw. Her hand shook on her blade's hilt. Round them a few aliens had gathered. Word was already spreading. A human touched the beast. He bathed him. He must be punished. Vrel turned to the crowd. "Leave." Everyone scattered. She turned back to Jack. "According to ancient bond law," she said through gritted teeth, "you are now part of Droger's scent family." Jack scratched his head. "What now?" "It means," she growled, "that you and I are now bonded through him, spiritually, legally, biologically." Jack blinked. "Wait, what? I just gave him a bubble bath." She stepped closer, golden eyes burning. "You just made yourself part of my life, human, and I didn't ask for you." Jack's voice went quiet. "I didn't ask for you." Either, for a long moment, they stared at each other. Droger purred between them, and then Vrel did something no one expected. She turned, stomped toward the door, and said, "Tomorrow, you will face the council. If they decide you broke the sacred law, you will be challenged." Jack stood frozen, challenged, like in a trial. She looked over her shoulder, voice like fire. "No, like in a duel." That night, Jack sat. In his cold sleeping pod, head in his hands. He had been here less than 2 days, and now he was about to be put on trial because of a bath. Outside, alien drums echoed across the colony, signal of a coming judgment. Jack stared at the wall. "Great. I'm going to die over shampoo." Meanwhile, in her private chamber, Vrel paced like a caged animal. Droger lay on the floor. It's clean and shiny, clearly happy. "Stop wagging your tail," she hissed at him. "You betrayed me." Droger barked once. She stared at him. "You liked it, didn't you?" Droger let out a soft growl that sounded almost pleased. Vrel sat down and rubbed her temples. "This isn't just a violation. This is fate binding. I'm now linked to that soft-skinned, bubble-throwing fool. And the worst part, some part of her didn't hate it. His scent foreign but warm, his touch gentle but fearless. He hadn't flinched from Droger, or from her. She remembered the way he looked at her. Not like a princess or a threat, but like someone real. She shook her head fast. "No, I'm not letting some soap-covered human mess with my life." But when she looked, down Droger was wagging his tail at the door waiting. The morning sun on Zarnak 3 was brutal, 2 red stars rising together, burning down like judgmental eyes. In the middle of the colony square, a stone circle had been cleared. That circle was where blood had been spilled, where traitors were broken, where challenges were answered by honor or death. Now it waited for a human, mechanic who didn't even own a weapon. Jack stood on one side of the circle, wearing a basic chest plate and holding a dull practice blade. His face was calm, but his eyes searched the crowd. Hundreds of aliens had gathered, whispering and pointing. She crushed him. He broke the beast's scent law. Maybe humans are as foolish as they say. And then the crowd parted like water. Vrel entered. She was dressed in full battle gear. Her armor glowed with sacred runes. Her long braids were tied tight, and her blade was curved and sharp. But it wasn't the weapon that made the crowd fall silent. It was the rage in her eyes. Or was it something else? Jack gave her a small nod. Morning. Vrel didn't answer. She raised her blade and stepped forward. By sacred tradition, I challenge this human under beast bond law. Do you accept, Jack of Earth? Jack sighed. I mean, do I have a choice? The elder at the edge of the circle spoke. You may forfeit, but she will take your hand as payment. Jack looked at his hand, then at her. Yeah, no, I kinda like my fingers. He raised his practice blade. I accept. But just as the duel was about to begin, something strange happened. Droger still. Shiny, from his unwanted bath, walked into the circle. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Why is the beast here? This breaks the law. Droger walked calmly between them and sat right in the center, blocking the fight. Jack lowered his blade, confused. Vrel shouted, Move, Droger. The beast growled softly but stayed still. He turned his massive head toward her and gave a single bark. A command. Vrel's blade lowered. Her breathing changed. Her knees trembled, just for a moment. The elder's voice cracked in awe. The beast speaks. Gasps rippled again. Only Jack looked completely lost. Wait, he barked. Speaking. Vrel's face had gone. Pale Droger just claimed you human. Fully, he recognizes you as kin. Jack blinked. Wait, like family, she whispered. No, like a mate. The crowd exploded in shock. Vrel stood frozen, and then she turned and ran. Jack found her later, in the beast garden. Sitting under a glowing tree with her head in her hands. Droger lay beside her, tail wagging slowly. Jack sat down near her, not too close. I didn't mean for this to happen. She didn't look at him. You humiliated me, in front of the whole colony. I just gave him a bath. You bonded with my soul companion. That means something here, Jack sighed. On Earth, it just means you're a good pet owner. Vrel finally turned toward him. Her golden eyes were softer now, confused. I trained for years to bond. With Droger, to earn his trust. And you. You gave him soap and water, and now he acts like you're his pack leader? Jack chuckled. Maybe he just needed a friend. She stared at him for a long moment. Then her voice dropped low. Do you know what it means to be bonded with me through Droger? Shook his head. It means our lives are tied. You're in my space now. In my dreams. In my scent. In my skin. She leaned closer, just a little. And if we resist the bond, it hurts. Jack felt a strange warmth in his chest. It wasn't fear, it was something else. But if we don't resist, yes, she looked away, whispering, then the bond becomes complete and permanent. Just then, Droger barked again, wagging his tail. Vrel rolled her eyes. He approves. Jack smirked. Of us? Apparently, they sat in silence for a while. No fighting, no swords, just breathing. Then Vrel surprised him again. I won't fight you anymore, she said. He raised a brow. You sure? You kinda looked like you wanted to rip me in half earlier. She stood slowly and looked down at him. Maybe I still do, but not in the same way. Jack blinked. Wait, was that a threat or a compliment? She didn't answer. She just walked away, hips swaying slightly, leaving Jack sitting there, confused, amused, and completely hooked. Asterisk, 3 days had passed since the incident in the stone circle. The duel was called off. The challenge was dropped. The tension between Jack and Vrel only grew stronger. Not the kind of tension that leads to war. The kind that creeps into thoughts at night. The kind that changes a bond between enemies into something far more dangerous. Jack had returned to his mechanical duties. He spent his days fixing broken cooling pipes, clearing sand from vents, and avoiding alien side eyes. But no matter where he went, Droger followed. The beast became his silent shadow, ignoring all orders from Vrel. No one dared to stop him. Jack found it funny at first until he started dreaming about warm golden eyes, sharp tongues, and violet skin. Vrel, on the other hand, was in turmoil. She trained harder than ever, sparring with steel and fury in her veins. But her focus broke every time she thought of the human's hands, scrubbing, laughing, touching her beast like it was natural. He had touched something sacred. And now, he was in her, not physically, but scent-wise, spirit-wise. Emotionally, she could smell him in her chambers. She could hear his laugh echo when no one was there. Worst of all, her own body was starting to respond. That evening, she visited the High Priestess. An old alien woman sat in a cave surrounded by floating orbs and mist. Her face was full of time and secrets. "You seek answers?" the priestess said without turning. "I seek release," Vrel whispered. From this accidental bond, the priestess stirred the air with one clawed finger. There is only one way to break the bond. Vrel waited, heart racing, or complete it. The old woman turned slowly. Her eyes glowed silver. "You must return to the sacred pool, with him and bathe together, under the moons of Zarnak. That will decide everything." Vrel stood still. "That's the ritual of unity." "Yes," the old one said. "And you triggered it. With soap." That night, Vrel stood outside Jack's door. She didn't knock, she just walked in. Jack sat shirtless, wiping oil from his arms. He blinked. When he saw her, Vrel. She didn't speak. She took 3 steps, dropped a folded towel in his lap, and said, "You will come with me. To the springs." Jack stared at the towel. "Wait. Are we fighting again? Or bathing again?" She didn't blink? Yes. The springs of Zarnak 3 were hidden deep in the cliffside. The water glowed faintly blue under the twin moons. Steam curled through the air like soft fingers. Alien flowers bloomed along the rocks, and the sounds of insects buzzed like a quiet song. Jack stood barefoot beside Vrel. She'd removed her armor. She wore a thin wrap of ceremonial silk. Her violet skin shimmered in the moonlight. Jack's heart thumped. "This is the strangest first date I've ever been on." "It's not a date," Vrel said. "Oh, right. It's a ritual that decides if we live or burn in madness forever." "Cool." They stepped into the water. It was warm, silky, alive. As they stood waist-deep, Vrel lifted her hand and smeared oil across his collarbone. "What is that?" Jack asked. "Memory balm. It lets me feel your thoughts." "Okay, wow. That's very personal." His hands moved gently. Jack took a breath and placed a drop of oil on her neck. "So, you'll feel what I feel?" "Yes." Their eyes locked. A quiet moment passed. "Then another, then?" Vrel gasped. She felt it, his fear, his curiosity, his awe of her strength. And something else, desire not just physical, deeper respect. Warmth, the quiet hope of someone who had been alone too long. She stepped closer. Now her thoughts flowed into him. Her fire, her pride, her loneliness, the mask she wore every day, and the soft, hidden girl beneath it. She whispered, "I've never shared this with anyone, not even Droger." Jack touched her wrist. "Then let me carry it." The water rippled around them. The moons shifted. The bond ignited. Sparks danced across the spring. The flowers glowed. Droger howled far away, and Vrel smiled for the first time, not as a warrior, but as a woman, opening her heart. The following morning, long before the stars had faded from the sky, a horn sounded across Zern. OK-3, a deep, bone-shaking horn. One that was only blown for trials, deaths, or forbidden unions. Jack woke with a start.
Ow.
He sat up, water still drying. On his skin, heart pounding from what happened in the sacred springs the night before, Vrel was gone. The bond was real now. Could feel it, like a pulse behind his heartbeat. But something else buzzed louder in the air tension. The something was wrong. In the grand hall of judgment, the High Council of Zarnak stood in a half-circle. Their robes shimmered with rank. Their eyes glowed with disappointment. Vrel knelt before them, alone. "You completed the bond with an outsider," one of the elders said coldly, "without approval, without tradition, worse, without permission." From the old bloodline, Vrel kept her head down. "The bond formed before I ever desired it. I only followed what was sacred." Another elder stepped forward. "You followed instinct, not law." From the shadows, a voice echoed, sharper than the rest. "Then strip her of her title. Remove her claim to Droger." The chamber gasped. Jack, standing in the back, clenched his fists. "Wait, what?" Heads turned. All eyes now locked onto him. The human had spoken in the Hall of Judgment. Jack stepped forward, voice firm. "You punish her for obeying your ancient magic. You worship bonds. But when it chooses someone you don't like, you call it a crime." The elder narrowed his eyes. "Speak like one of us, human. Yet you are not. You are the reason she stands here in shame." Vrel slowly looked up, lips trembling. She had faced death in war, but not like this. Not the kind of death where you lose everything that ever defined you. Another elder spoke, this time softer. "The bond cannot be undone now. It has been felt across the beast connection. Droger sings at night. But there is one path," the high priestess said. Silence followed her voice. She continued. "Let the human complete the rite of Kartora, the trial of scent and soul. If he survives, he will become kin. If he fails, the bond will shatter, and so will he." Jack blinked. "Trial of what now?" Rel stood fast. "You can't put him through that." The priestess stared at her. "You already did. The moment you shared the spring, his fate was sealed." That evening, as shadows stretched long over the cliffs, Jack stood near the edge of the beast garden, watching the sunset. Vrel came up behind him, silent. He didn't turn. "Are you mad?" she asked softly. "A little bit," Jack replied. "You should have stayed quiet. Shouldn't have stood up to the council." Jack looked at her now, eyes steady. "You shouldn't have left me alone in the water this morning." That struck her deeper than she expected. She looked away. "I didn't want you to see me cry." I paused. The sky turned gold. "I felt unworthy," she whispered. "They were right." I broke the chain of command. I let something ancient and sacred turn into something personal. Jack stepped closer. His hand hovered near hers but didn't touch. "Is it so wrong? Is for sacred to also be personal?" She looked up at him, eyes burning. Not with anger, with something raw. Older, she nodded. "If you walk the Kartora, there's no going back."
Oh.
"What happens in this trial?" he asked. "You walk into the Hall of Scent. You face visions, fears, and truths from the mind of the one you're bonded to." Jack frowned. "Wait. That means, yes," she said. "You'll see everything inside me, even the things I hide from myself." He swallowed. "Okay." Gosh. She blinked. "Okay. I'm not scared of your truths, Vrel. Just scared you won't want me once you see mine." For the first time, she smiled with pain in her eyes. "Then we will both be afraid. Together." That night, Vrel placed a mark on Jack's forehead, the sign of scent acceptance. Colony watched from the shadows as he walked toward the black gates of the Kartora. The gates opened with a groan, and Jack stepped into a world not of stone, but of memory, dream, and truth. Behind him, Droger howled once, and the wind whispered, "Not all humans fear the sacred." Asterisk inside the Kartora. There were no torches, no walls, no path. Just darkness, live, breathing, watching. Jack stood alone, but he could feel something crawling at the edge of his thoughts. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't VRL. It was her memories, and now they were becoming his. The first vision hit like a punch to the chest. He stood inside a massive stone chamber, watching a little violet-skinned girl cry beside a dying beast. It was Droger, but smaller, wounded, barely breathing. The young Vrel knelt beside him, holding his face with both hands. "Stay with me," she whispered. Elders stood around them, cold and quiet. "She's too soft," one muttered. "She won't survive as heir," said another. Young Vrel sobbed. But she pressed her forehead against Droger's. "You are my only family." And the beast somehow survived. The vision cracked. Jack stumbled forward, gasping now. He stood in a warfield flames. Screams, bodies of aliens and humans alike. Vrel, older now, led a charge, forgiving, powerful, brutal. But then the battle stopped, and a single figure approached her, a human soldier. Hands raised, unarmed. "You don't have to kill me," he said. And yet, she did. She didn't want to. But the elders demanded blood. Jack watched her lips tremble as she whispered, "Forgive me," and struck. Then she vomited behind a rock, shaking in silence, while others cheered. Jack's chest tightened. "You were never cruel. It just forced you to wear cruelty like armor." More visions came. Her loneliness, her victories, her scars, and then her thoughts of him. The first moment she saw him, the first moment she doubted her hate. The way she pretended not to notice his laugh. The warmth she felt when he smiled at Droger. The confusion. The dreams and the fear that she would never be enough. Jack dropped to his knees, sweating, shaking. "I never wanted to invade your mind," he said to the shadows. "I just wanted to know you." The chamber changed. Now he stood once again, in the sacred spring. But this time, she was already there, waiting. Vrel stepped from the water, her wrap gone, her body glowing with ancient markings. But her eyes, they held no seduction, only truth. "Now you've seen me," she whispered. "Every broken part." Jack walked toward her, tears in his eyes. He dropped to his knees in the water. "And I still choose you." The bond exploded like fire through the springs. The water shimmered. Light rose like ribbons around them. The marks on their skin burned golden, connecting. Droger howled outside the temple. Vrel gasped, clutching Jack's shoulders as the magic of the Kartora completed itself. The bath was not just physical now. It was eternal, spirit bathing. Spirit, heart-washing heart. They emerged from the sacred chamber as one. Vrel held Jack's hand, no longer ashamed of the whispers around them. He had walked through her soul and came out loving her. More elders stood silently. Droger bowed his head to Jacka, sign never seen in recorded history. The high priestess finally spoke. "The bond is now sacred and complete. The human is one of us." "But not just one of us," an elder added. "He is bonded to the last warrior bloodline of Zarnak." Vrel stepped forward. "Then hear me, counsel." She looked at Jack. "From this day, I claim him not just as bonded, but as my chosen mate." Gasps, murmurs, cheers. Jack blinked. Now that escalated quickly. Vrel smirked. "Too late to back out, Bubble Boy." Zarnak 3 had never seen a gathering this big. From every ridge, from every canyon, from nearby moonships and hovercrafts arrived carrying dignitaries, soldiers, and clan leaders. The plaza of ancestors, silent for 100 years, now echoed, with voices, footsteps, and questions, all to witness one thing: would Vrel choose her bloodline, or the human who broke every law and still earned her heart? Jack stood at the edge of the ceremonial platform, dressed in alien fabrics that didn't quite fit him. The collar scratched, the belt itched, but none of that mattered because in the crowd, no one was laughing anymore. He wasn't just a mechanic now. He had walked through the Kartora, bonded with their sacred beast, and stared down the elders without blinking. Still, a small voice inside him whispered, she could still say no. 1,000-year tradition rested on her shoulders. He was just a man with a wrench and a weird gift for washing mythical pets. Then came the silence, the kind of silence that makes the air feel heavier. She walked in, Vrel, wrapped in white ceremonial cloth, golden tattoos lighting her skin, braids bound. In silver, Mendroger walking loyally at her side, every step she took made the crowd lean forward. Every heartbeat in, Jack's chest got louder. She stopped 5 feet from him. The high priestess raised her voice, loud and sharp. Vrel of the Zarnak bloodline, daughter of flame, keeper of the beast. Do you claim this human male before the eyes of your people, the stars and the ancient bond? Silence. A deep breath. Then, her voice, soft but unshaking. I do. The crowd gasped. Murmurs shot through the crowd like lightning. Jack blinked. Surprised even, though he shouldn't have been. But what came next shocked even. The priestess wasn't done, and you human. Do you accept this claim? Jack looked into Vrel's glowing eyes. He could see fear hiding behind her pride. She had risked everything, her rank, her beast, her people. For him, he smiled, stepped forward, and said, only if I get full bathing. Right. Laughter. Real laughter. Even from the stiffest elders. Vrel rolled her eyes. I warned you not to talk too much. And you ignored it, just like my warnings about soap. He stepped closer. So, I guess we're even. The high priestess raised both hands. Then let it be known the bond has chosen. The hearts have answered. The sacred line continues, not through blood, but through bravery. The crowd broke into cheers. Droger howled triumphantly, causing half the platform to shake. Vrel grabbed Jack's hand. He squeezed it tight. You just became royalty, she whispered. Jack grinned. Can I still keep my toolbox? No. Later that night, after the lights dimmed and the celebrations faded into music, Jack and Vrel stood alone on the balcony of the central spire. The moons were full. The sky shimmered with distant nebulae. He looked at her. Truly looked. No armor, no fury, just her. Did you ever think this would happen? He asked. Vrel smirked. Not even in my wildest battle dreams. I mean, this all started because I gave your monster bath. She chuckled softly. He's not a monster. It's my family. Jack looked down at Droger, peacefully sleeping beside the railing, snoring like a giant dog. Guess that makes me family too, huh? Vrel stepped closer, her voice a whisper now. No, Jack. That makes you mine. Then she kissed him slow. Firm, honest, and for once, Jack didn't joke. He didn't speak, just kissed her back. Somewhere, deep in the shadows, the council watched. One elder leaned in and muttered, Perhaps. Humans aren't so foolish after all, another replied. Or perhaps they're exactly what this galaxy needs.